Hey, America's the greatest country in the world. Welcome to our preview of the RNC, the Republican National Convention. Now, before we do this, we must take a moment to talk about the RNC in the context of the Democratic Party right now. It's amazing. I've never seen the Democrats such free fall, just devouring themselves. It's brutal over there. You just hate to see it. My first thought was that it's kind of a shame that this convention has to divert attention away from the Democrats imploding. But I don't think that's right. Because I think it's better for Trump and for Republicans down ticket if Joe is on the ballot. You know, Big Mike comes in, maybe everyone gets real energized and this changes the game, right? I think Republicans want Joe on the ticket. I think Trump wants that to be the case as well. So maybe taking some time away from Joe, giving him a little space. Let's release a little bit of the pressure off the old man. Get well soon, Joe. Get well soon. Take some rest. I hope you get over your cold. So maybe us focusing over here will let that dust sort of settle over there and keep Joe in the race. Every day he's in the race is better for Trump, so it's all good. Or maybe the counter is that they'll get rid of Joe during the RNC to divert people's attention away from Republican unity. Because that's what next week is. It's 4 days of unity. It's a time to tell the American people what the Republican Party stands for, which is all MAGA right now. A convention like this, where everyone is behind a candidate, unlike whatever they're going to do at the Democratic convention in Chicago, this RNC convention is all about unity. It is the troops staging. It's the troops staging ground before war. This is a time when Republicans, many of them physically in one location, can get together and get fired up before it's go time on the final push. Compare that to the last convention that the Republicans had in 2016. Do you remember all that? There was all this talk about a contested convention. Oh, there's outsider by the name of Donald Trump who came in and he was bull rushing the entire Republican Party because Jeb's going to be the guy. Remember all that? And Trump just ran him right off the stage during the debates. But so many Republicans hated Trump and they wanted to kick him out and they couldn't do it during the primary, so they were going to do it during the convention. There was all this talk about a brokered convention, a contested convention. Remember, Mitt Romney was calling on Republicans to vote for anybody but Trump at the end of the primaries to keep Trump from having a majority of delegates so that he wouldn't win on the first vote and then people could vote their conscience and vote for other candidates. John Kasich, this was going to be his big path to victory. Ted Cruz, Mr. Vote Your Conscience himself, was jockeying for that top spot. It was chaos. And now, 8 years later, it's the Trump party. It's unbelievable. Never been more unified since the Democrats in 2008. Even if Joe were well, their convention in Chicago is going to be a disaster with the Hamas patriots out in full force, making a riot of everything. But now their conventions, it'll be a riot. It's just hilarious on top of being actually physically a riot. But the Republicans have smooth sailing. On Monday, Make America Wealthy once again. Tuesday, Make America Safe once again. I'd like to edit, if only we could talk to the chair of the RNC, which we will in a moment. I'll ask Laura, can we get rid of the once? You know, remember thefacebook.com? Now it's facebook.com. I think we gotta get rid of the once. Make America Safe again. Make America Strong again. That would be foreign policy related. Then Thursday is Make America Great once again. The party also released their party platform. It all looks pretty good. 20 main points. And number 1 and 2 both have to do with immigration. No other topic gets 2 points. Right? So number 1, seal the border, stop the migrant invasion. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. They're not shy about that one. It's number 2, all capital letters. Number 3 was inflation. But immigration took number 1, the number 1 and number 2 slots. Again, we'll talk to the chair coming up in a little bit, the chair of the Republican Party. I talked to the chair of the platform committee, Senator Marsha Blackburn, the other day. She said the goal was to keep it short and sweet, 16 pages, easy to print out and share with friends and family. This is what the Republican Party stands for. And next week is the chance to show people that this is who we are. Stuff all the way down to, I think number 17 or 18 is only women allowed in women's locker rooms and women's sports teams. Crazy. What a bunch of extremists. So what are we looking forward to next week? 50,000 people are going to be in town. Milwaukee. It's going to be in the home of the Milwaukee Bucks. Trump's going to speak on the last night, of course. Vice President speaking the day before on Wednesday. Trump will speak on Thursday. Hosting it in Wisconsin was a very good call. Wisconsin is the closest of, it seems, right now, the closest of all the swing states. Right? What is it, like 7 or 8 swing states or whatever? I say the reason I'm hesitating a little bit is because now New Jersey is close. Like Wisconsin and New Jersey are tied, right? So who knows what a swing state even is anymore. But before the debate, at least, it was a dead heat. I saw one poll recently where it's up by 6. But still, Wisconsin's very, very close. So in the last 24 years, there's been 12 elections in Wisconsin, big major elections, 12 elections where it's been decided by less than 30,000 votes. Think about that. From the governor's race, the last governor's race was less than 30,000. The last Senate race, where Ron Johnson won by less than 30,000 votes. Even the presidential race, 2016, Donald Trump won by 23,000 votes. In 2020, Joe Biden won by 20,000 votes. It's always been that close in Wisconsin. I also hesitate about saying it's close in Wisconsin because the poll came out in Iowa, and apparently this poll in Iowa is like the gold standard, rock solid. Whoever does this poll at the Iowa Register is like 100% on lately, these last few elections. And the last poll, and this is before the debate, Trump was up 18 in Iowa, right? So, near Wisconsin next door, how much holdover is there? How much crossover is there? But anyway, good call for the Republicans to have this in Wisconsin, just to prove the Democrats panic about it. This was a fun post from Politico. This, again, was also before the debate, talking about how Trump or Biden is not doing well, even in Milwaukee. Now, one point about the location, there has been concern. I haven't heard anyone talk about it recently, but there has been concern about security at this convention site, which is protected by the Secret Service, so we got that going for us. But I was talking to, again, Ron Johnson, the senator, and he was very concerned about this. There is a designated security zone, they call it, or First Amendment zone for protesters. And his argument is it was way too close to the arena, that everyone had to walk by the protest zone in order to get into the arena. There's a park just 1 block away. So I took this picture from Google Maps, and you can see this park right across from the convention arena. And that's where the Secret Service is putting all the protesters and all the people who want to show up and cause trouble, all the Hamas people, I suppose, right? And the Republicans are like, whoa, can we move it to this other park, which is about like a mile away instead? So you can see in this map here, the other part they want to move it to is in the southern portion of the map, and the northern part of the map, you can see the arena. And there's that green spot right to the right of the arena. That's where they're currently having the free speech zone. And you got to walk past that in order to get inside. Just for comparison's sake, in Chicago, the First Amendment zone is 3 miles away. So the Democrats were smart enough to say, we want those people nowhere near us. That's not going to be the case, or at least it hasn't been the case in this Wisconsin one. So we'll see how they take care of that. Hopefully, we pray that is never an issue. So what shall we look forward to at this Republican convention? This is the Republicans' time to shine. We'll break it all down next, starting off with the chair of the Republican Party who put this whole party together, Lara Trump. That's next, right here on The First TV. Hey, welcome back to The First TV, our preview coverage of the RNC, taking place pretty much all of next week, Monday through Thursday. I want to go right to Lara Trump, who's the co-chair of the RNC, who's been putting on this big party. Lara, how are you?
Yeah, no pressure. It's a big party. It's the first one in 8 years, Mike. If everybody knows, because we really didn't have the traditional conventions in 2020 because of COVID. So we're excited. We're ready to go.
Well, you're excited because of how much unity we have here, and then you look across the street and you see, have you ever fathomed you'd see the Democratic Party crumble like they are right now in front of our very eyes.
And so quickly too. I mean, that's the thing that I think has been astonishing to so many people is that, I think there are so many of us who've been calling out obvious issues with Joe Biden for years. And clearly the Democrats have been lying about it. Clearly there are so many people close to Joe Biden who've known he is not up to the task of being president of the United States now, let alone 4 years from now. They want him to run for another term. And I think after that debate, to see how quickly things have changed. And I mean, look, truly the wind was in Donald Trump's sails already, but it is extreme at this point right now. And it feels like it's a completely different animal. I'm not surprised in many ways because I feel like this is who this party is, and their true colors are kind of starting to show, but we'll take it. On the Republican side, you may have noticed we're just kind of letting them go and do their own thing. We're excited to present an amazing convention next week. And I think it will be in stark contrast in terms of unity to what you've seen on the Democrat side. I don't think you've ever had a more unified Republican Party under Donald Trump. No. I certainly look back to 2016, 2020. Right now, in this moment, in July of 2024, we are totally united. We are all facing the same direction, fighting for the same things. And I think that is great as we head into, I think, the most crucial election of our lifetimes.
Yeah, so you have the contrast, of course, of what's going on in the Democratic Party, right? That's obvious. But then I also want to highlight the contrast with the 2016 convention, where you still had the John Kasich and the Mitt Romneys and the Jeb Bush trying to win a brokered convention or whatever. It's like, man, so you were there. That was chaos. There's no chaos in Milwaukee this week.
No, there will be none of that this coming week. If that's what people are tuning in for, you're going to be upset. There are a lot better things to tune in for. I can assure you of that. Yeah, it's different. And it's amazing because I think you look back to 2016 and so many people who were really kind of unsure, well, what's going to happen with Donald Trump? I mean, we're going to nominate Donald Trump as our nominee. Look what he's been able to do to this party. I mean, he really has changed the face of our party. He's invited so many people in, opened up this tent, and really changed us so much for the better. And I think now to see all the support behind him, it's amazing. And I love to see it. But yeah, I was there in 2016. In fact, if anybody remembers, Ted Cruz gave a speech that upset a lot of people where, he was still kind of trying to be in the running and mess things up a bit. He spoke right before my husband in 2016. I can promise you we're going to have no shenanigans this time around. It is going to be a great unified convention, and I'm so excited for it.
Miss Ted Vote Your Conscience Cruz. So you such a moment. I was in the audience like, wow, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So you're putting this show together. When you're going into it, you're planning it all out. You're planning the speakers, you're planning the themes, the da-da-da-da. Who's it for? Who are you speaking to? Who's the main audience for next week?
Well, I think what people will notice is you'll get far less sort of elected officials speaking, which is kind of typical for conventions, right? You have a lot of congressmen, senators, governors, local elected officials. There will be a lot less of that and a lot more of real people, because this convention is for the people. This is to talk directly to the American people and say, hey, remember what your life was like 4 years ago. Remember how much easier it was to make ends meet. Remember how much safer and more secure you felt in this country. And it really is for the everyday citizen in America. And so you're going to see that reflected very heavily in this convention. I also hope we can reach out to undecided voters. Obviously, that's a huge goal of ours, to independents, people who really we need to bring over to vote for Donald Trump and vote for Republicans in order to have a big win come November 5th. And I think talking about really how far this country's fallen in 3.5 years under Democrat leadership, and reminding people how much different it was when Donald Trump was there. You don't have to wonder, Mike, what will it be like if we elect Donald Trump? Because we had him for 4 years. And I think that's the beauty of things. We can very easily compare and contrast two presidents and two presidencies, and that's the goal.
Yeah. All right. So there's an opportunity to tell a story. So is that the 4-day story that you're looking at? That's the takeaway you want people to have? It's simple, and that I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It's like a simple message. Like, here we were we have the A/B test 4 years ago. Is that the story? Remember your life 4 years ago. We can do it again and even better this time.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, we like to keep it simple. If you got a good thing, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what they say. So we're going with it's basic, but it's true and it's real. And the themes of our convention are make America safe once again, wealthy once again, strong once again, and great once again. And I think that is a message that will resonate with Americans. Look, people are struggling out there. This country certainly has turned in the wrong direction. And I think it is telling a story and really keeping it basic. We do have a great story to tell, and we intend to do that again with people, everyday citizens telling their stories and how their lives either were impacted by Donald Trump positively or have been impacted negatively by the Democrat policies, by Joe Biden's policies and all of the Democrats down the ticket. And so that's the goal. That's what you'll see, and I'm excited to share it.
Have you talked to the speakers, or have any guidelines, or about how much we're talking about Joe Biden, or how much we're talking about the Democrats versus how much we're talking just about us? And then we don't even know if Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. So what's like the policy on this next week?
Well, I mean, look, the speakers, people are it's left up to them really to decide what it is they want to say. We're not managing people by any means. But look, I think that I always like to lead with positivity and lead with reminding people, about the great things that Donald Trump did. I mean, look, promises made, promises kept was a slogan, but it was real when Donald Trump was in office. So the things he's promising to do right now, you can be assured he will do once he's back in the White House. So I want to personally talk about the things he did, the things he's going to do, and, keep it a little less on, the kind of negativity. I think it's apparent to people. You don't have to sell it because they're living it every single day out there in this country. I will say we're going to have some very unlikely speakers. We're going to have some great surprises. And I think people are going to be kind of blown away and shocked when they see some of the people who come out on stage next week at the convention. So get ready and then pop your popcorn, because we're all waiting around to see what the heck the Democrats are going to do when we wrap up an awesome week. Man, then it's their turn. And we're just, who knows what they're doing on their side. It's in total shambles over there.
That's just, it's delicious is what it is. What's my last question for you? What's one moment you're most looking for? It's 4 days. We got a 4-day party here. We got and you're in all of it. You're in the thick of it. You're hosting the whole thing. What's one moment in particular that you're like, this is going to be super fun?
Well, there's one speaker who it's a secret. I'm not going to reveal it yet, but there's one speaker who I'm really excited to hear from, because I think this person really will resonate with a lot of people. That's not a lot of great information. I'll tell you one thing I'm personally excited about is that my kids are going to come on the last day when my father-in-law gives his speech. It'll be a late night for them, but I think we're living through such a historic time right now. And my kids are 4 and 6 years old. I want to give them this opportunity and this experience to say, hey, I was there when my grandfather was nominated again by the Republican Party to be their nominee for president. I'm excited for them to come experience it. My parents will come, my brother will come. So for me personally, it's going to be really exciting, but I just think it'll be a great time for the American people to reflect on what their life was like and give people really hope for the future. Because I think sometimes right now, Mike, it's tough. Life is really tough for people. You see so much negativity out there, wars, an open southern border, disasters everywhere, people struggling. And I want to give people on the last day, in the last moment of this convention, hope that there is help on the way, that the future of America is bright. And we're going to see that when Donald Trump is reelected as our 47th president.
It's awesome. I know you'll put together a good party. Lara Trump, co-chair of the RNC. Thanks, Lara.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Best of luck next week. I know it's going to be a lot. I can't imagine, so much work putting into this, so much work putting it together. I couldn't fathom putting on a show like this at all and organizing the speakers and the messaging. But now, as we've talked about many times before, with the Trump campaign and the RNC as one, full trust that it will be a good show. We'll have all of our First TV team will be there reporting on it live throughout all of next week. We got more coming up right here on the First TV. Hey, welcome back to our special on the First TV here. A little preview of what's coming up on the RNC next week. Elizabeth Pipko is here. She is a spokesperson for the RNC. Elizabeth, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm grateful you're here. How did you get involved in the RNC in a formal way? What was your political awakening?
It's actually been a long journey for me. In 2016, I volunteered for Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Within about 3 weeks, I was one of the youngest full-time staffers on the campaign. I actually ran the nationwide volunteer operation that we had. After we won the election, I took some time off. I went back to school and got my master's, went back to some other mainstream work that I was doing, but was always kind of in the advocacy space, doing a lot of like media commentary. And then I realized, I think in the last year or so, that this election was just too important to sit out. And I ended up in the amazing spot that I'm in now, luckily advocating for the hopefully successful election that we're going to have in November and the future of this country.
That sure looks like it. Where did your family come from? And I say this because I read that you were involved with a lot of this Jewish awakening and leaving of the Democratic Party for good. Like, it's unbelievable so many Jewish people vote for Democrats these days. And I can't get a straight answer on why that is the case, but many more leaving the Democratic Party voting Republican. What have you learned from that?
Yeah, so my entire family immigrated from the former Soviet Union. I'm a first generation American, which I think is a good chunk of why I do what I do and why I love this country so much. Because of their story and everything that they went through, I'm also lucky enough to be a proud Jew in this country, something my parents and countless people around the world are not able to do where they're from, right? So for me, it's always just been about being a proud, open Jew, something that a lot of people cannot do. And with that comes the power to speak my mind, which I think in this country is something that too many people take for granted. And I think now we're seeing too many people kind of afraid to share their views publicly because people get made fun of or canceled or God knows what else for their political affiliations. And I've always just spoken up against that. With that comes speaking out against the fact that I don't think any minority group should have to stay loyal to a political party when they get no results in return, right? That is including obviously Jewish Americans, but also Latinos, Blacks, women, so many others that seem to think that they just have to vote Democrat, but get actually nothing in return from those that they continuously put into office. So I've been speaking out against that for years now. And I think now, especially with everything we're seeing, anti-Semitism on the rise in this country and around the world, everything we're seeing with the war, of course, in the Middle East, the fact that we still have American hostages being held by this terrorist group and no one is doing anything about it. I'm finally seeing Jewish Americans and all Americans, waking up.
I believe it was number 18 on the party platform, actually has a section in there about getting these pro-Hamas people out of college campuses and rooting this out. This is a big topic for a couple months or whatever, and we've kind of been distracted away from it, unfortunately, with lots of things going on. But this is part of the party platform of the new MAGA Republican Party.
It is, right? I mean, in this country, we have to just encourage patriotism, right? Strength from within. And the only thing that can tear us apart in this country, I truly believe that, is ourselves, right? We're always going to face threats externally and internationally, but the biggest threat comes from our own country and those that want to see our country fail. And when we have people in this country, especially young people, who seem to want to advocate vocally, proudly, openly against our own ally and for a terrorist group, we know that we are seriously in the wrong and have to do something about that before it's too late. Because again, this country will crumble from the inside out only. I truly believe that is the only chance of bringing down the United States of America.
That's right. We got 4 days of convention. What is one moment of the 4 days that you're most looking forward to right now?
Honestly, I'm most looking forward to seeing Donald Trump accept the nomination. Again, like I said, I've been with him on and off since 2016, but seeing what he's gone through these last few years, especially seeing the way that he's been treated, knowing how many people counted him out, how many times I've been told it was the beginning of the end for him. Watching him get nominated again is going to be incredible. Seeing that at the same time as looking at these polls where he's leading by double digits in states we never really considered to even be on the map a couple of years ago, I think it's really an incredible moment for him. And I think for anyone that believes in this country, believes in the underdog, and believes in coming out on top just by doing the right thing.
It's unbelievably surreal. And I want us all to really reflect on the surrealness of it, where even I don't know when he made his announcement at Mar-a-Lago that he was running again, maybe like a year and a half ago or something like that. But so let's go back 2 years. There was a debate about whether or not he should even run again. And now it's like Were you kidding me? Like, of course he should have run again, and now he's crushing it. How surreal is this moment?
Surreal is probably the best word for it. The only thing I can compare it to is the feeling I felt on November 8th, 2016, when we won that election, that no one in this world believed we had a chance of winning. I mean, watching him every single day come out 2015, 2016, when he was down, 1, 2, 3 points in the polls, that's all he really had, saying out loud publicly, knowing everyone was laughing at him around the world and facing them head on and saying, "You're wrong, I'm going to be president." He proved himself, obviously. In 2016, he proved that he was right. He's done that same thing now for 4 years when everyone counted him out. They counted him out of running at all. They counted him out of running against people like Ron DeSantis, which I always thought was a joke. They counted him out of this race against Joe Biden. Now he's leading again in states that Democrats have held for decades now. And I think it's surreal again is the best moment. And I think he deserves it all. And I'm so excited for what he's going to do for all of us come next year.
Who is he going to be speaking to during his speech specifically, right? Because we just talked about some different voting groups. We're talking about like New Jersey's in play. How is he thinking about who this speech is for? Is it for people like you who've been campaigning for him since 2016? Or is it for the person who's kind of a moderate Democrat who sees the state of Joe Biden and they're like, I don't know what to do now? Who's the audience?
So what I'd say about Donald Trump, something that I've respected forever, is that he doesn't sugarcoat things. He doesn't cherry pick what he's saying based on who he's speaking to or what time of day or year, what events are happening. He is always straight to the point. He doesn't care what you ask him or when. He tells you how it is. I've always respected that. I think the American people do too, right? He's not coming in here with a specific plan to target one specific group of voters. He's coming here to speak to the American people, and he generally knows what he's doing in that case. I'd say better than almost any politician I've seen before him, especially for someone without political experience prior to 2016. I think his plan and platform that we put forth with the campaign here at the RNC was meant for all Americans. We truly believe everyone, no matter where you come from, even how you have voted before this point in time, everyone will see the benefit of that platform and of Donald Trump. And I think that's why he feels so comfortable up there every single time without a notepad or a teleprompter or anything else, just telling the American people what he thinks is the best scenario for them moving forward and why he should be their pick. And I'm honestly so excited to see him do that again, especially in contrast with everything that we're seeing on the other side, which is truly probably in the biggest mess I've seen them in my lifetime. And I think the American people deserve to know that they have another choice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, don't question Trump's political instinct. Elizabeth Pipko, RNC spokesperson. Elizabeth, thank you very much. Have a great time in Milwaukee.
Thank you.
We have lots of our First TV team is going to be in Milwaukee as well with plenty of coverage for you next week. Caroline Sunshine coming up next right here on the First TV. And welcome to our preview of the Republican convention that's taking place in Milwaukee, Monday through Thursday of next week. So we talked to Lara Trump a moment ago. Now I want to go to, she's the co-chair of the Republican National Committee. I want to go to Caroline Sunshine right now, who's the Deputy Director of Communications for the Trump campaign. Caroline, how are you?
Hello, I am better than Joe Biden outside the hours of 10 and 4. Thank you. How are you?
That'll be my new... I'll just use that line all the time, forever. It's great. So background question. I got a lot of questions. Background question. So we talked to the head of the RNC and your communications for the Trump campaign. How different are these two things right now?
No daylight between us. This is really a historic first where the RNC and the Trump campaign are working completely hand in hand. We're so grateful to have Lara Trump as the co-chair of the RNC. She has really been an innovative leader who I think has brought in a breath of fresh air to the RNC and really professionalized the operation. And, before, I think, especially in the eyes of voters, and I remember this because I remember being one of those voters, I always really looked at the RNC and the Trump campaign as very separate. I think I really trusted the Trump movement. I didn't place as much trust in the RNC, but these two operations are now completely one and the same, working hand in hand every day. And you also see that reflected in the party platform that was just put forward, which I think is a perfect reflection of what the MAGA movement has stood for. This is definitely President Trump's party through and through. He has really made the Republican Party bend to him, not the other way around. And you see that in terms of how the two operations have been, professionalized and really worked together seamlessly.
Yeah, this is a really big deal. I don't want to skip past this. I feel like the Democrats have always kind of been like that, like when Obama's their guy, they're all in for the, but the Republicans just have never been like that. And if we remember 2016, and we were talking in the opening segment about how it was a broker, they wanted a broker convention and a contested convention, and it was going to be John Kasich's way to get to the White House. But there was always this pushback from the Republican Party. But this really is the death knell of that old school Jeb, or however you want to define it, Republican Party. It is full Trump now.
Yeah, and that's really a credit to President Trump. I think President Trump is a singular force in American politics. He's just a once in a generation political force. President Trump has unified this party behind him, and he has inspired this party. He has brought forth new ideas to the Republican Party ever since he came down that escalator in 2015. This is very much his party, his movement. And, we see people asking us all the time, wow, you guys are making plays in places that are blue states that we don't typically see Republicans in. And that's because President Trump isn't a traditional Republican. He has always said he's here to make America great again. He never said, I'm here to make the Republican Party great again. It's always, the message has always been make America great again. And he hasn't been a traditional Republican, and he has helped not only, yes, unify our party to make it, I think, the strongest it's ever been, but it's also helping this party, the Republican Party, resonate with new voters. We're seeing independents, disaffected Democrats, African Americans, union workers, young people all flocking to President Trump and abandoning Joe Biden. And frankly, I really think the Republican Party of old should be on its hands and knees thanking Donald Trump every day, because if it wasn't for him, I really think that party would be on life support. Couldn't be further from the truth today. The Republican Party is stronger and more vibrant than ever and making more gains politically than ever. And that's really thanks to President Donald J. Trump.
I just saw an article in Newsweek just the other day about the youth vote flocking to the Republican Party as well. So things are going well. On the flip side, we'd be remiss if we did not talk about the other side right now. Last time we talked, it was right after the debate and our post-debate coverage. And a lot has happened since then. Who does Trump want to go up against?
Well, I think the better question is nobody wants to go up against him. President Trump didn't just win that debate. He absolutely dominated it. I call it the debate to end all debates. And as we have seen, it doesn't matter who the Democrat Party puts up. Maybe they'll keep Joe Biden. Maybe they'll pick somebody who's more active outside of the hours of 10 and 4 p.m. It doesn't matter who they select. As we just saw in the recent round of polling, nobody can beat President Trump. And so my advice to the Democrat Party has been maybe just total surrender now. Just save yourself millions of dollars, give George Clooney his money back, do the right thing for the country, sit this presidential election cycle out, because the American people are very clear about who they want, and who they want is President Donald J. Trump. And I might add, Democrats in their own voting base are very clear who they want, and they also want President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, literally the last couple of days, the Democrats have been out loud. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen it like this in politics. I've never seen it like this in sports, where the Democrats are out loud saying, we're definitely going to lose the presidential. There's no and the down ticket races are going to be affected as well. Now let me ask this, Colin, because I've gotten criticized on my radio show for saying this too, Trump's got this, it's unbelievable, we're so far ahead, blah, blah. And people are like, whoa, you're suppressing the vote with your optimism. And it's like, oh, geez, obviously we still have to go vote and do the stuff, clearly, right? Just that's part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Look, President Trump has said it best, as he usually does. He said, we have to win, and we have to win big. And President Trump understands how high the stakes are for this election. I think the American people understand how high the stakes are for this election, too, especially after watching that debate to end all debates. I mean, really, it was very apparent from the first 2 minutes of that debate that Joe Biden's presence was, I think, frightening to the American people, and I think it brought comfort to our enemies. You contrast that with President Trump's strength and poise and command of the issues, which I think brought hope to the American people. Fear to our enemies. That's actually the word we saw independents use most in terms of describing President Trump's performance post-debate, was the word hope. But look, President Trump is in this to win this. We don't take anything for granted. We never have. That's not how we were acting before the debate. It's certainly not how we're acting now. President Trump is very clear. We have to win and win big. And I also might take an opportunity to remind your viewers that our campaign launched a website called swampthevoteusa.com. If you visit that website, you can make sure you are registered to vote, have a plan to vote, however you choose to vote, whether that's early in person, mail-in ballot, voting the day of. We just want to make sure that you're ballot is secure, your vote is cast, your voice is heard, and you can hear directly from President Trump at that site and make sure that you cast your vote on this election where the stakes couldn't be higher this November 5th.
Right. So Trump in these last couple of weeks has stayed relatively quiet, hasn't jumped too much in the fray. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh, credit to the campaign manager for, keeping Trump disciplined during this time when the Democrats are imploding. You, Deputy Director of Communications for the Trump campaign, is that your doing? Or how is Trump staying so calm and disciplined during this time?
I've had people ask the question, President Trump seems like he's laying low, and my answer is not as low as Joe Biden's poll numbers. No, look, President Trump's been hard at work on behalf of the American people, truly. Look, he came off of a stellar debate performance. You haven't seen us have to do cleanup on aisles 5, 6, and 7, and that is full credit to Donald J. Trump and the way that, like I said, he dominated that debate. I mean, his performance at that debate was so inspiring. It was so dominant. It was calm. It was cool. It was collected. It was hopeful to the American people. We couldn't be prouder to have a leader and a nominee like President Trump who makes our jobs easy, and he has been busy. He's been back out doing what he loves to do. He was just in Florida at a rally. He's headed to Pennsylvania at a rally. This is where President Trump likes to be. He likes to be out speaking directly with the American people. And like I said, we haven't been having to do cleanup on aisle 5, 6, and 7. We're having conversations about where's the next exciting place we can bring President Trump and his winning message. Again, realizing how high the stakes are for this country, realizing how unfit to serve Joe Biden is, and realizing that I think the American people really wish the election was tomorrow and that they could cast their vote for President Donald J. Trump and get Joe Biden out of the Oval Office immediately.
All right, so you'll be in Milwaukee. What is one particular moment of the 4 days that you're looking forward to the most?
Of course, it's hearing directly from President Trump himself. I think President Trump is the perfect messenger for our movement, always has been. I think when President Trump speaks, he has a way of connecting with people that is very unique, and you just don't see it in politics often. He just says what he means. He's plain spoken. He's often funny and engaging, and he just speaks the truth. And I love seeing the reaction that it brings a crowd. I love seeing the forgotten men and women who show up to our convention, who show up to our rallies, many of whom are my own family and friends. And look, there's been tremendous suffering inflicted on the American people over the last 4 years. And I love when I see crowds of great American patriots who love this country, who are just looking for hope, who are just looking for a government to be returned to being of, for, and by the people. And there's something about the way that when President Trump speaks, it connects with them and it brings them hope. And it's a really beautiful thing to see and be a part of. And I'm really looking forward to looking at those beautiful crowds and seeing President Trump bring his message of hope to people who frankly really need it.
I'm imagining right now your family in the background cheering at a Trump speech. Maybe they're rewatching the debate and being like, "Yeah, that was an awesome end." I think that's the hope we're we're talking about.
Yeah.
My last question for you, Caroline, is I think a lot of people are looking for a place to go. I've always used this metaphor, this visual before, that someone could be grabbing onto a rope hanging over the edge of a cliff, and you can tell them all day long that rope is a bad rope, or it's going to break, or it's a sinful rope, or whatever. But if you don't give them something else to grab onto, they're never going to let go. But I think right now people are hanging onto this rope that is Joe Biden, or maybe even the Democratic Party. They've been hanging onto for a long time, and now they realize that this rope is no good. So they need a new rope to grab onto. What do you want? Maybe a lot of first-time people, or maybe they've come with bad preconceived notions of the Republican Party. What do you want them to walk away from after these 4 days?
Yeah, you certainly know you're in trouble when you've lost both Georges, huh? Losing George Stephanopoulos and George Clooney in 1 week. Tough week for the Democrat Party. Look, I this. President Trump has always said from the beginning of his entry into politics, like you said, when he came down that escalator in 2015, he said he was going to make America great, not just the Republican Party, not just a certain demographic of America. He's going to make America great. And when you look at the platform that President Trump just put forth, at the very top, it says it is dedicated to the forgotten men and women of America. And that distinction of class of people, the forgotten men and women of America, it doesn't actually know a specific party affiliation. It doesn't know a race. It doesn't know a gender. All Americans are included in that. Like I said, this has been a really tough 4 years for the American people. We talk about it all day long on TV, but that suffering is very, very real in terms of Americans who President Trump saw a gentleman in Philadelphia, for example, a couple of weeks ago who said, I had to come out of retirement because I can't afford my bills and I can't afford my medication. So my message to the American people, without getting ahead of President Trump, is they'll be as excited as my family that you hear in the background after this convention. But after these 4 days, I really think President Trump is going to speak to the problems that the American people have with compassion and passion, and offer them solutions and offer them strength and offer them hope. And that is what the American people deserve. I have a sibling who serves in the military. People will often say thank you for your service. When that happens, he often says, you are worth it. And that is how President Trump feels about the American people. He feels the American people are worth it. They deserve a lot better than they're getting. And that's what he's here to deliver.
Well, we all look forward to all of us cheering like that on November 5th, and maybe even a little bit this next week as well. Caroline Sunshine, Deputy Director of Communications with the Trump campaign. Caroline, wonderful to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. So this is the chance. This is a chance for Republicans to show unified message, unified front, definitely a new Republican Party, a MAGA Republican Party. Will it work? We have a bunch of members from the First team the First TV team who will be there. We have lots of reporting still to come next week. We're grateful for you being here for our coverage. First TV, Mike Slater, spread the word.